Today's Tuesday, it's the 5th of March 2024, and I thought I'd bring you up to date with some items of news that have caught my interest. And still in the news is the electronic entry system that's due to come in later on this year. The date that's being quoted in various newspapers is the 6th of October, so nothing to worry about this summer, and it's just something that's going to happen later on this year. 6th of October is quoted in lots of papers I've seen, but if you go to the official website, the European Union website, it doesn't actually mention a date and it says TBC, to be confirmed, but October the 6th sounds like a reasonable date. The summer season will be over, the height of the summer season will be over for the southern countries in Europe, particularly Spain, and so it might be a time that might be sensible to bring that in. Anyway, if I hear any more, I'll let you know. And the other side of the coin, of course, is ETIAS, which is for non-EU residents who don't require a visa, particularly those people coming from the UK. That's something for next year, and there is still no date on that at all. So again, nothing really to worry about. Certainly nothing for this summer, and it looks as though it's going to be a bumper summer. More about that in a moment. Once you get to the airport, if you've got young children, something new for this year is they've put some buggies in there, some little buggies for the children. There's not a lot of them though, there's only about 30. And when you consider the hundreds of thousands of people that pass through the airport, I'm not sure 30 pushchairs is going to actually cut it, but it's a little start, and there are plans to increase the number of them in Palma. So that's really a good sign, I think. When you get into Palma, you might notice a little bit less in the graffiti. Graffiti is a big problem in Palma and much of the rest of the island. But the government here, the local government, in Palma, the Lord Mayor has declared war on graffiti, and he said he's going to get rid of it. And they've started in a place called Plaza del Tubo. Not many tourists are going to go to Plaza del Tubo. It's frequented by students, but they've cleaned up the walls there. At least they've cleaned up some of the walls, and some of the photographs I've seen, you go around the corner and it's covered in graffiti. They've already removed, though, some 2,000 items of graffiti from the city, so hopefully it's a step in the right direction. Calvia, which is where we've got Palma Nova, Magaluf, Peguera, Santa Ponsa, they've also declared war on graffiti, and some move has been made to remove the graffiti there as well. Reports in the papers are saying that international tourist spending has increased tremendously. In particular, in January, it was up 20%, spending a lot more money on the island, and that's got to be good for the economy. When you come to the island and you check into your hotel, you'll be asked to pay a tourist tax. It's much lower in the winter time than it is in the summer season, so if you're staying here now, then you've got to pay the lower rate. But when the season starts, so after Easter, the higher rate will kick in. And many people have said, what do they do with this money? We don't seem to see anything. Well, the president of the government of Mallorca has been to a tourist fair in Germany, and there she said that 350 million euros of this tourist tax are going to be used to improve the destination, to improve training, and to look at the water cycle. In terms of the destination, what she's talking about there is buying up old establishments, old hotels that are no longer being used, and just demolishing them really, or repurposing them, but at least making them look a lot better and making them into much more useful spaces. More events are being sponsored, such as the Majorca Live Festival, which has been very popular out there in Magaluf. Some sports proposals are going to be put into place, including tennis and ladies golf. So lots of things that the tourist tax is being spent on, and as soon as I hear any more, I'll keep you posted. Unemployment has decreased again In February, the register has gone to an historical low, so more people are employed throughout the islands, but in Majorca in particular, and that again, great news. On the other side of the coin though, house prices are also going up, and they've reached a new time high in the Balearic Islands, and the figure that's quoted is around 4,000 euros per square metre. So that's how they value property here in Mallorca or in Spain. They look at how many square metres you've got and the particular area that you're in, and it's how many euros per square metre. So 4,000 euros per square metre is a sort of a typical price for property in the Balearic Islands and around Palma in particular. In some parts it's much more, and in others it's less, but that's the average. Petrol prices, well, they've become more expensive. In fact, in the last 5 weeks they've just gone up, up, up. But if you compare it to last year, this time last year, they're actually cheaper. So it's difficult really to compare at the moment. It's not very stable, going up and down and going back up again now. One of the biggest tour operators that comes to the island is TUI. Used to be Thompson's in the UK, but now it's called TUI, and they're predicting a bumper year for Mallorca and the Balearics in general. They are obviously at the Berlin tourist fair, and they're saying they're going to be bringing something like 2 million tourists to the islands during the summer. One of the things that happens on the island, we get a lot of people in the winter time coming to the island to attend fairs and conferences. And the big electronics company Philips has been to the island recently, and they've been in the Palau de Congreso having their conference. And before they left, they donated 1,000 trees. These 1,000 trees are going to be distributed around the island, and to help with some of the reforestation that needs to occur. So it's a nice little gesture. That I think a big company like Philips putting 1,000 trees, 1,000 is a tiny amount for Mallorca. Mallorca's got millions and millions of trees, but every little bit helps, and 1,000 trees, that's 1,000 more trees on the island. I've mentioned in the past about an airship that has been proposed for the island, and this is actually moved on a stage or two, and they're now doing some test flights just to make sure that they are safe, and they're going to be around for people to transfer from the mainland to Majorca. Air Nostrum is the company that's doing it. They are not the same as the Hindenburg, which you've probably seen caught fire in the 1930s. It's using helium. Helium is a much safer gas and doesn't burn, so it's certainly not going to catch fire. And I think it will offer an interesting alternative way to fly to Majorca from the mainland. We'll look forward to seeing how that works. It's only for short haul flights, so don't be expecting to fly from the UK. They go much slower, and they don't go quite so high in the sky. More about properties, and one of the big estate agents on the island, Engels and Volkers, have said that 60% of the home sales that are over €500,000 were bought by properties were bought by foreigners, and most of those foreigners are German, 44% of them. The UK makes up just over 10%, the French 5%, and other nationalities are less than that. So expensive properties being bought up by foreigners, and well, that's, I think, been the case for a long time. At least it seems to have been, from my opinion. Another thing that's happening on Majorca, if you're looking for something to do, then we've got the fair that's already happening, and it's every year around Easter. It's called the Ram, and it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, travelling fairs in Europe. So you've got all of the attractions from the the big wheel to shooting with air guns to big dippers, all of them there, and it's really quite a sight, and it will be going on all the way through Easter up into, well, the middle of April. If you're looking for something indoors, and I wouldn't have expected this to be indoors, but it's the Freestyle World Tour. It's a motorcycle acrobatic show which is on Saturday, March the 9th, and they've got 2 shows. 6,500 seats have been sold already, and it's motorbikes doing acrobatics, so it sounds really exciting, sounds really noisy as well, but that would be something I'd quite like to go and see. We're not going to be here, we're off on our travels again, but you'll have to wait to find out where and what we're up to. We've had some snow, we've had some rain, and it's been pretty cold, and if you look at the mountains, the tops of the highest mountains do have a little scattering of snow. That's had something of a positive effect on the level of the water in the reservoirs. We've got 2 big reservoirs, and not a huge amount, but maybe 5% increase in the water there. What I did notice was that the aquifers, the boreholes where we get the water, most of the water from, which comes out of boreholes in the ground, they've risen quite a lot, several meters of water in the aquifers, so that's good news. But the authorities are saying be careful because we don't want to waste that water, so they are asking people to be a little bit more careful with their use of water. On the sports scene, Sunday night we were watching Rafa Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz at an exhibition match in Las Vegas. It was on Netflix, and really quite nice to see the 2 Spanish players in action. It was an exhibition match, so how serious it's not, but Rafa tends to take all of these matches seriously, and good to see him in good form. Michael Douglas was there watching, and give a nice plug for Mallorca with his wife Catherine Zeta-Jones. He did mention that he had a house here in Mallorca and that he'd be rooting for Rafa Nadal. Rafa sadly didn't win, but it went to a tie break, and it was a 10-point tie break that Alcaraz eventually won. On a more serious side of that though, both Nadal and Alcaraz will be playing in the Indian Wells tennis tournament. Nadal, just of interest, because he didn't play last year, has dropped to 652nd position in the world rankings, and that's really because he's not been playing much over the last year. But this particular event seems he has something of a protected ranking, so I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it looks good for tennis, and looks good for Mallorca to see Rafa actually participating again. Well, if I'm talking about sport, I've got to mention Real Mallorca, and what a week it's been for Real Mallorca. We've now managed to reach the final of the Copa del Rey. Who would have believed that at the beginning of the season, or even in the last few weeks? And it's absolutely crazy over here, really good. And we played Girona at the weekend, and we won against second team in the league, in La Liga. A very well fought match, and well, I think we deserve to win, so really happy about that. Are we going to Seville to see them? Well, it doesn't look as though we are now. We've got Serena coming out and the family, so we'll be watching it home with them. People who are trying to go, though, are having real problems getting there, and the prices are becoming extortionate. One travel agent, which we used to travel with when we went to away matches, has put a price of 620 euros for the return trip, and that doesn't include the entry to the stadium. The stadium actually isn't in the centre of Sevilla, it is outside Seville, and it's not a football stadium, it's a sports stadium with a running track. Why they do that, I don't know. So the idea is they want to get well, 20,000 supporters, well, up to 20,000 supporters to Seville, but by air it just isn't going to happen. They're going to need 100 airplanes to move that amount of people, and there are not the hotels for them to stay in. The latest news that I've read is that one of the supporters clubs is suggesting a ship take the supporters to Valencia, and then they'll get a coach down, and they're advertising a much more reasonable trip, 150 euros, and that's the trip by boat and 2 nights in a hotel in Granada. Granada isn't Seville, no. So they've got to, people who do this have got to make their own way from Granada to Seville and back again to the hotel before their return flight, and it doesn't include the tickets to enter the stadium to watch the match. There's a meeting today between the football clubs, that's Bilbao, Mallorca, and the people who are responsible for the Copa del Rey, and they'll obviously be looking to see what they can come up with. Even for the supporters for Bilbao, it's not going to be easy. Bilbao's at the opposite end of the country, and I was speaking to my friend Adolfo, and just people don't seem to realise the distances that are involved here. We're talking about a 1,000-kilometre drive for them if they wanted to go in their own car, or it's basically they need a flight or a very fast train. So yeah, I think a lot of fans will end up going there, but I don't think we'll be amongst them. We do have another match on Friday. It's an away match, and it's against Barcelona. So Mallorca are playing Barcelona on Friday night, and it's an away match. You wouldn't give Mallorca much of a chance against Barcelona, but Barcelona have got their own problems. They've not been playing too well recently. They've got lots of injuries, and they've got suspensions due to the number of yellow cards. So anything can happen, and well, we'll be looking for a bar on Friday night to watch the match and hopefully see Mallorca get a few more points and lift them even higher in La Liga. The weather, well, if you've seen any of our recent videos, it's been cold, it's been wet, it's been windy, and the sea has been rather turbulent. Today, the sun's shining, it's blue skies, it's a little bit cool, but not too bad, but it's still very windy. I think we'll probably venture out a little bit later. Over the next coming days, there is another storm that's crossing Spain. Whether it'll cause any problems in Mallorca, I'm not too sure. So we're expecting temperatures 17, 18, maybe even creeping a little bit higher, and plenty of sunshine. So thanks very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Bye for now.